Guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see from the title, background, and thumbnail, we are talking brand new day spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to get spoiled, get the fuck out of here and go watch the non-spoiler that I just did. If you want to get all my non-spoiler thoughts. If you have seen the film and you know all the spoilers, come, please stay. Let's discuss. I have a lot to fucking talk about. So, that is your one warning you're going to get. This is spoilers. Get the fuck out of here if you don't want to get this movie spoiled. And stay if you want to hear my spoiler thoughts. So, anyways, let's get into this shit. So, yeah, we were all correct. Sadiesink was in fact Jean Grey, which again, it was one of those. Who else could she have been? You know what I mean? Like, I know for months it's been the rumor, it's been the leaked thing of, oh my god, she's gonna be playing Jean Grey. She's gonna be playing Jean Grey. She's confirmed to be in Secret Wars and yada yada yada. And it was one of those where I'm like, okay, but who else could she have been if she wasn't going to be Jean Grey, you know? So that was a big reveal in the movie of like, oh, that is Jean Grey, which that was very satisfying for months and months and months of just internet speculation and discussion of like, is she Jean Grey? Is she not going to be Jean Grey? You know, I've heard some discourse already about that of people being like, oh, they should have just said it in the marketing. They should have just told us who she were. It really wasn't that big of a deal. I'm like, it kind of was. The way that they introduced it in the movie was kind of a big deal. Like they took their time to be like, her name is Jean Grey. You know, we didn't really get her name reveal until like the last, maybe the third act is when you really got her name reveal. So like, yeah. And for her being Jean Grey, I thought she was great. I mean, she is the villain of the film. I would say like she doesn't really start showing her cards or showing her hand till about midway through the film. But yeah, she is the villain of the film. And I thought the way that they utilized her character was very well. I mean, that was something that a lot of people before it, when it was just an internet rumor that she was Jean Grey, that was something that a lot of people were like, well, if she is Jean Grey, why the fuck is she the villain? How was she the villain? She's not a bad guy, you know? And I thought they found a really good way to justify her actions of why she's being bad and her purpose. You know, in the film, it was one of those. So to kind of give you an idea, her character is basically that she has this sister named Sarah, which I always forget in the comics and animated shit that Jean Grey does have a sister. They kind of always like they always like wash over that very quickly. Like, you know, they did mention in the original X-Men film that she did have a sister, and they just kind of, you know, oh yeah, she did have a sister. Let's move on. And so yeah, it was one of those. Her and her sister have these powers, and her sister got captured by the DoD, and she's just trying to get her sister back. That's why she's going after damage control. That's why she's causing the terror that she is. And of course, in some people's eyes, like the Punisher and Spider-Man, that was a bad thing, you know, because of the way she's handling it. But I thought that was a good way to be like, no, she doesn't want to do bad, but she's doing something bad. She's kind of like Wanda, where she's like, I understand why you're doing it, but you're coming at it the wrong way. And I loved the way that they handled her character there towards the end, you know, when it was one of those that Spider-Man was the one to bring her out of that. You know, Spider-Man was the one of like, hey, go inside my mind and you're going to see a conversation that I had with May, and that conversation is going to change you into a better person. I thought that was great. I thought that was amazing how they did that with her character. And I'm curious because, you know, she was on a bus and she's going somewhere. I'm curious if she's going to the X-Mansion or if she's going somewhere else. I don't know. I thought that was a cool little way to be like, all right, her character's going to go off and go do something. Obviously, we know she's in Secret Wars. So we'll see about that. But no, I thought they handled Sadie Sink as Jean Grey fucking honestly great. Like, I thought that was a really good way to introduce this character. It was a really good stepping stone to be like, all right, I know her origins. I know how she is. I know her powers and how fucking just, oh my God, how powerful they're already just in this first outing. I'm not gonna say she's as powerful as the Fox one because we haven't gotten there yet, but the fact that she froze half of New York and was able to do all the things that she did in this film, she's already so fucking powerful, and she hasn't even tapped to being her full potential as Jean Grey. So I thought they handled her great. The other big kind of spoiler thing was the whole MJ thing. They did reverse the MJ and Ned spell, but I thought the way they did it was brilliant. It wasn't one of those that they reverse the spell and everything's happy-go-lucky. No, MJ finds out about the spell and all everything because Peter accidentally leaves a note behind at what because like so Peter took MJ to Punisher's lair and like his little this place that he's staying. and it was like, "Hey, can you watch her? I'm gonna go fight Jean Grey and stop her." And so while she was there, she found the note that Peter wrote back in No Way Home, and she read all of it. And so after he defeated everything, comes back to get her, she's already read the note, and she was like, "Hey, I need to know. Like, you need to tell me right now what happened and all that stuff." And of course, Peter confesses his love. He tells everything that he's ever wanted to say to MJ. And she's like, "I don't feel that way about you because I don't know you. You know, you have no memory in my head. So I don't love you." Which that made me tear up because I was like, "Oh, that's so sad." um, so it's one of those where it's like the spell got reversed to a certain degree, but she doesn't love him because she doesn't know him. And then even like the end of the film where he does the same thing with Ned. He meets Ned at a coffee shop and goes to do the handshake that they knew, and of course Ned does it perfectly, because he remembers, and it's one of those where he clicks like Peter. So it's like, I don't know if it's one of those that he's going to have a relationship with Ned, but a very complicated relationship with MJ because she just doesn't remember him. She doesn't have those feelings. I thought that was a good way because that was something I was worried about when they said MJ and Ned are coming back. That I'm like, oh, you're just going to reverse what they did in No Way Home. Like, you set all that up, you put him down in this dump of he has no work, has no life, has no nothing. He is just Spider-Man. And you're going to reverse that shit already in the next movie? Like, let that shit breathe maybe for a movie or two. But I thought the way they handled that in this particular notion of the film, I thought it was great. It was like you reversed the spell, but you didn't get exactly what you wanted out of the spell. So I thought they handled that amazingly. But yes, and then let's just talk about that fucking Hulk fight, man. Dude, again, the early 2000s kid in me is so fucking happy with that Hulk and Spider-Man fight. They spoiled a lot of it in the trailer. Okay? I'll just give it to you straight right there. But I loved that fight between. I mean, there's shots in that I want as fucking art in my room. Like when Hulk is being pulled back by the webs because of the debris, and he's looking at Spider-Man, and there's Spider-Man with the fucking shocker thing just about to go hit him. Oh, it was fucking. And then he grabbed him like like Spider-Man was about to hit him with the shocker gauntlet. He grabbed the shocker gauntlet and then let's put him to the ground and just was about to fucking kill him. And then, which was weird, they didn't like spell this out, but this is just how I interpret it. When Hulk put him down, he's about to kill him. Peter was the one that said, like, "Hey, it's Peter, it's me." And it looked like for a minute Hulk remembered Spider-Man. It looked like he remembered Peter Parker. Maybe that's just my interpretation, because I know in the comics that's how it was. Maybe that's just my interpretation. But it seemed like it was one of those that Hulk remembered who Spider-Man was. Like, oh, Spider-Man was a Spider-Man friend. It seemed like he did. Maybe that's just my interpretation. Maybe you guys will let me know in the comments if I'm right on that. But yeah, that Hulk Spider-Man fight. And then again, you had Punisher. You had Punisher there for just a brief minute, when he was shooting up Hulk and stuff like that. That was badass to see. I will say, there was one section of the movie that I was like, oh my God, are they about to go there? Are they about to go there? It was there towards the third act when Spider-Man was trying to stop Jean Grey after he fought the Hand, which we'll talk about the Hand in a second. Punisher's on a rooftop way, way far away in New York City. He brought a big ass suitcase and he planted the suitcase there on the edge of the building. And he brought a sniper. He brought a sniper and he went down the barrel and he was looking. He was going to take out Jean Grey. For a minute there, I thought that big ass briefcase. I was like, are they doing War Machine? Are they doing Punisher War Machine? Because it was like a pretty big suitcase. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. Don't tell me he brought the War Machine Punisher suit. I was going to lose my shit if it did. I was going to lose my shit if they did. I was like, they went there. Fuck yeah. But no, it was just a sniper rifle. But still, that was a cool scene because after he was about to take out Jean Grey and Spider-Man knew it. And so he got in the way of Jean Grey and took the bullet. And Punisher takes him to the hospital and they recreate that iconic moment from the Civil War issue. That was fucking cool. That was pretty cool. I was like, aha. I felt like the fucking Leonardo DiCaprio meme of I pointed that out immediately. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then of course that whole thing, I loved seeing that. It felt so Spider-Man 3 when Peter was in the hospital and he left, and so there was like a huge crowd, like the whole New York thing. Like after he got shot by the Punisher, he went to the hospital, and just everyone in New York was mourning Spider-Man. Everyone was like, "Hope Spidey gets well." He left little cards, and just the whole entire city of New York was just there for Spider-Man. And I loved that because it was one of those, the whole movie, Peter felt alone. Peter felt like nobody loved him, but New York loved him. And dude, we've been missing that shit. We've been missing that shit from this version of Spider-Man. We don't need fucking Iron Man Jr., man. We've been missing New York City Spider-Man. And I love that shit. Made me tear up. I'm like, yes, bitch. Love that shit. But I loved after the fact when Punisher helped him escape and he stood by the window and he was, waving as Spider-Man to the people, how Peter was in the crowd of the Spider-Man people chanting, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. And there was just one little kid that looked over to him and did a little thwip. He was like, thwip. And Spider-Man did it back. He's like, I love that moment. That was just such a nice moment. Again, it reminded me so much of Spider-Man 3, the whole parade sequence from Spider-Man 3. But yeah, I just thought the way that they handled the whole Punisher, Hulk, and just all that stuff was great. Honestly, great. I even loved the little reference. It went over my head initially until I thought about it. I loved the little relationship that the Spider-Man and Punisher had when they were talking about Staten Island. It's literally the first time they ever meet. Punisher makes a reference of like, "Oh, you're helping me because you helped me on Staten Island, huh?" And if you go back to Staten Island in Punisher Born Again, season 1, he was left on the island there, because Daredevil and Jessica were forming the whatever you want to call that initiative. They were sitting there forming it. So yeah, Punisher was left on Staten Island. So it seemed like Spider-Man stepped in and saved Punisher from that little area at the end of Born Again, which was pretty cool. It's a cool little connective tissue between Daredevil and Spider-Man. Another thing is Daredevil is not in this movie. I'm not disappointed. I had a feeling he wasn't, just because I'm like, where would he have fit? He's in prison right now. he's. I know people are like, oh, he's in this, like what the background is right now. He's in this scene. Look, he's down here at the bottom. I'm like, no, that's just, you're just no way homing it. You're no way homing, trying to find shit that they took out. No, no. That shot from the trailer is in the movie exactly how that shot is. There's no added characters. So was I disappointed that Daredevil showed up? Sure, because again, it would have been nice to see Daredevil next to Spider-Man. I think it's going to happen one day, but watching the movie, I don't see where Daredevil would have fit. Even in his fight with the Hand, which we'll talk about the Hand. That fight against the Hand, oh my god. Now, I will say again, they showed a little too much in the trailer, man. I would have loved a lot of that fight if I didn't see majority of it, but it is beautiful. It is so beautiful, the fight. I mean, the whole ninja stars getting thrown at him in slow motion. There's just one shot, and hopefully I can find it in the trailer, but Spider-Man standing in the middle of the Hand. He has his mask off, and he's just surrounded by the Hand. He's just looking fucking badass, man. I'm like, ugh. But there's just so many, fight choreography in that scene that I'm like, dude, this is fucking shit. Like, there's one scene where Spider-Man's running in circles and one of the ninja people are following him and shit. And it's just, it is peak Spider-Man fighting choreography. Now I will say there was one theory I was wrong about. I was wrong about the symbiote. The symbiote's not in the film at all. I thought when those scenes in the trailer, when it was the black eyes and that whole situation, I thought, okay, that's just the symbiote. They're gonna think this is spider totem shit, and they're gonna make us believe that, but it's secretly the symbiote, and it wasn't the symbiote. It was this whole spider evolution thing. I don't know. That's one thing I will say, that it was a big thing in this movie that he was just his DNA was mutating, that his spider side of him is just escalating really fucking high, and he has to make these little defibrillator chips, put them on the back of his neck, and it kind of evens out his abilities. But that kind of didn't get resolved 100%. I mean, it kind of did, but it didn't, it was one of those, I'm like, okay, is this going to be a reoccurring issue for Peter that he just has to keep, figuring out the scales between the two? Or is this just for this movie only? It was kind of like a big subplot that they introduced, but then they just kind of, after the Jean Grey shit and the MJ spell and all that stuff, it just felt like they kind of was like, all right, we're going to put it to the side. I'm like, okay, I'd like a little bit of a wrap up or some sort of an explanation of, is this permanent? Is this just for this movie? Is it because he was just under so much stress with MJ and Ned that it's calmed down now? We didn't get really a resolution to that ability, which I was like, okay, but it was cool in this movie that he has organic webs and all that stuff. I thought that side of the story was pretty cool. I will say there was one, this is what I thought in my head. when Punisher shot Peter and they did the whole Civil War moment in the hospital, I thought he was gonna die. I really thought, I was like, I know where this is going. They're gonna kill Spider-Man. Spider-Man's gonna die in that hospital. They're gonna bury him, and then we're gonna get that iconic fucking thing from the comics of the symbiote comes on the gravestone, goes inside, then we get that epic, he pulls his arm out and he's black suit Spider-Man. Like, I thought that's what we were gonna get for a minute. I was like, they're actually going to go there, but no, they didn't go there. I think they're going to 100% save that for Secret Wars. That's something the Russo's going to want to do. That's something that they're going to want to adapt. So, by all means, that's fine. But yeah, dude, that's everything I could think about spoiler wise that I could just get off my chest. This movie's great. I love this movie. I can't wait to watch it a second time. I can't wait to watch breakdowns and little Easter egg things on YouTube to see what I missed. But yeah, guys, this is a fucking excellent movie. I could not be happier as a Spider-Man fan that we are at a place with Spider-Man now that I can walk out saying, this was an amazing Spider-Man film. No pun intended. So yeah, guys, you drop in the comments. What was your favorite moment? What was your favorite, of course, this is spoilers, so by all means, spoil that comment section. Fill it up with spoilers. You guys let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.